Yes, I'm aware. Thank you, Attorney Bell.
Would you like
Good
me to?
afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'd like to call to order today's Yountville Town Council regular meeting. It is 3:01, and with that, can we get? First, I just want to let everyone know that the overflow is in the locals lounge, and they can also see us on a TV screen there. Correct?
That is correct.
And so all the council will have their microphones on so that sometimes I've heard they couldn't hear us, so make sure your microphone is on when you're talking today so that we can accommodate them as well. So after call to order, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember McKee? Here. Councilmember Knight?
Here.
Vice Mayor Reeves?
Here.
Mayor Moeller?
Here.
Councilmember Tripp?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Can we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? So we previously met in closed session, and I'll go to our town attorney to see if we had any reportable action.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. There was no reportable action from closed session.
All right, thank you. And now I would like to get a motion to adopt today's agenda.
Move adoption of today's agenda.
Second. And we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? That passes unanimously. And now it's time for council member announcements. I think
I have a
Councilmember
little
McKee
one.
has an announcement.
On the heels of the holiday food drive that we hosted here in Yountville and did kind of a competition between barrels placed at the community center and Yountville Fit and so on, I wanted to announce that we are once again going to take on an initiative to make it easier for the public to donate food for the Community Action Napa Valley Food Bank. I want to thank our Parks and Rec team for having one barrel there at the community center. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the CANV Food Bank, they're out on Kaiser Road, so they're out towards DMV. It's not easy to go out there. They're not open all the time for donations. But they serve 15,000 residents monthly, distributing over 118,000 pounds of food. And groceries are a little bit expensive right now, so I thought maybe we could come together as a community to help feed those that might need food, and to make it really easy. I'm working directly with the food bank in a few different capacities, but I do find out monthly what they are in need of for families. So starting the drive in May, the barrel will be delivered next Tuesday. And the item is cereals for families, preferably low sugars. Think oatmeals, think things that the whole family can eat. We only have a half a month to do it in the first month, but I figure boxes of cereal can be big. So if you'd like to give, I appreciate it. And I know that the food bank recipients would appreciate it as well. Again, it'll start, the barrel's delivered next Tuesday, and the drive starts Wednesday. Thank you for your thoughtfulness.
Okay, thanks. Vice Mayor, did you have a council comment?
Yes, I do have a comment. I just wanted to take a few minutes to expand the community discussion in a way that gets to our responsibilities and our concerns for the protection of our town. That is the central component of our job as council people and as citizens of the community. The recent referendum that did not make the town's housing obligation go away, it may have made it harder and more expensive in the long run, but it did not make it disappear. Excuse me? This this council does not have to stand for uncivil behavior. I would request that you not make those kinds of outbursts when I'm speaking or anyone else on the council is speaking. We do not do that to you. I would never do that to you. And please, as a business owner in town, you should have more decorum than that.
Accept my apologies. I just thought it was funny. My apologies.
It did not make our responsibility disappear. I think we owe it to each other to be honest about that, and that is honest on every side of the debate. In 2024, this council adopted a housing element and the state certified it. That document commits Yountville to planning for 72 units of housing by 2031. Some market rate, some restricted affordable at incomes designated by the state. That is the plan we have on file with the state. I want to be clear about something that has not been said clearly enough in public. Every single one of those 72 units in our certified housing element is reliant on private land. Every site in our plan is a parcel where the town has to wait for a private owner to decide whether they want to build, when they want to build, if they want to build, what they want to build, and who they might sell any units to. We have no real control over that. The owners of those parcels are under no legal obligation to build, and the state has been clear in recent times that if those sites do not show movement, we cannot keep counting on them. The state reviews our plan every year. It does not sit on the shelf until 2031. If those private parcels do not show movement towards their zoned use, our obligation does not evaporate. The state evaluates that plan yearly, and anytime it actually deems it's necessary. So the town continues to be responsible to provide viable sites and possibility for housing production. That is just what our RHNA numbers mean. This is part of why we bought the former school site. The Commons was the move to change the dynamic, a change to put the process more in the hands of the town and the community rather than in the hands of disconnected developers or state agencies. This made sense to townspeople through 2 election cycles, and it continues to make sense for the town. We have yet to have a complete conversation on what that would look like in real terms, but we have much information, ideas, and comments to explore. This discussion must start with the concept of local control in the plainest sense of the word. That purchase was not reckless, it was prudent, and it came out of long conversations with this community. We have created a town asset with resident uses and the possibility of fulfilling a need for housing for our workforce. The first full year on that site was about listening, about what we wanted and what we desired to have in town for us as residents. Out of that came Yountville Fit, the Locals Lounge, the Garden, the Coop, and the farm stand, and the dog park. Those uses came out of community meetings, not out of planning offices. So did the agreement that workforce housing should be part of the plan. The voters had already approved Measure S to set aside money for workforce and affordable housing. I know not every person in town voted yes on that measure, and I respect that. But a clear majority did, and Measure S funds went into buying the school site because most of us shared a vision that the town should acknowledge and help the workforce who maintain and contribute to the success of Yountville as a great place to live and a great place to visit. I understand there are people in town who are uneasy about workforce housing. I've heard those concerns, and I don't dismiss them. They are sincerely held. But let's consider, I want to gently say this, these are not strangers we're talking about. They are our neighbors. They are somebody's son or daughter. They are somebody's niece or nephew. And in some cases, they are our grandchildren. They are part of what makes this town actually work day to day. And they have a part to play in what this town becomes. The school closed because there weren't enough children. Most of us felt that loss. This site gives us a chance to bring some of that life back and to keep this town relevant for the next generation. So when we talk about the school site, I would ask us all to remember what it actually is. It's not just a park site. It's not just the old school. And it's not just a ball field. And it is not a symbol of a political argument. It is the one place where we can make something happen that enhances our community, a place where we can fulfill our responsibility and maintain our standards and preferences. If you disagree with the design or the options that were presented on February 17th, we can have those conversations about that. But we need to proceed in a constructive way, one that focuses on the needs and the obligations of the town, as well as thoughts and concerns of individuals. Those are the conversations still in front of us. I'm here to say that we should not take this site off the table without being honest about what taking it off the table means. Because if we walk away from it, we need to understand what comes next. Our housing element may need to be amended. Our list of sites may need to be revisited. We may have to explain to the state how we plan to meet the same obligation without our most obvious placed site for that kind of housing. If the private sites do not perform, we are going to need replacement capacity. And if private owners choose to move forward on a project that we do not support, the town has no leverage to require, alter, or even request modifications that the community might actually want to see. That is the position we are in today on every site in our plan, every single one. If we cannot show a credible plan, the consequences for the town will be more serious than the disagreement we are living through right now. So I want to ask a few questions because I think the public deserves to hear them asked from here, not from wherever. Can the town still meet its certified housing element without using the school site? What risk does the referendum create for our compliance with state law? And what is the safest path for Yountville to keep control of its own housing future? Those aren't rhetorical questions. They are the questions in front of us right now. I do not have the answers, but I know who can help us get them. We have a very capable planning department. We have a town attorney who has already begun to address some of these issues on the record, and we are about to bring on an interim town manager who is an experienced planner himself. The expertise is in the building. We do not need to go hire it from somewhere else. What I would like us to do, with the support of my colleagues, is to ask the staff and the attorney to come back to a future meeting with a clear public accounting, not a defense of any one project, not a brief from any one side. just a plain explanation of where we stand with our housing element, what we owe the state, what the referendum has changed, and are the timelines, and what are our options as we move forward. We owe that to the people who signed the referendum. We owe it to the people who did not sign it. They have their own legitimate frustrations, and they have been quieter than they should have been when we are discussing a community asset. We all need to live with the consequences of this process. Let's clear the air and begin to understand where we stand and how we can move forward. This is not a them and us moment, and we are not the them, but we are all us in this moment. We're a small town. We're going to keep seeing each other at the same restaurants and grocery store and parking lots for a long time. The way through this is not louder voices on either side. It is honest information in public where we can all hear it together and with a little more grace with each other than we have been showing lately. So I request that our staff prepare an educational review of the housing element and our responsibilities. Thank you.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
I'm going to speak first. I just wanted to make sure that, do we have support of the council for the request from the vice mayor? I certainly support it.
Yes.
Okay. So we have support. So yes, Attorney Bell.
We'd be happy to. That's direction for a future agenda item, and so we will bring it back on a future agenda. Happy
Okay.
to.
All right. Great. Councilmember Tripp.
I was going to say that although that was a long and lengthy lead up, I took it as a request, and I would definitely not just have an educational session, but an actual discussion that could involve the council and involve the public, and it should be on the agenda. And I would just comment, although I very much appreciate the council member's long explanation of some of her views, it is somewhat unfair because it's not on the agenda. So the other council members are not allowed to speak to this issue because it's not on the agenda. And so, yes, I heard what she said, but it's really not, in my view, an announcement. And it's not, in my view, because of many of the things that were stated, an actual agenda request, which I would fully agree with. We should have this discussion, and I've been waiting for it, and it should be a public discussion. And finally, I would say that while I can't speak to those comments, because under the Brown Act, if it's not on the agenda, I'm not allowed to speak, the public can certainly make any comments related to that. So that is what I wanted to say. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any other?
Should I just clarify that?
Yes.
Oftentimes, council member comments and announcements are not agendized in specific terms. I wasn't making an agenda item. I was making a request for a future agenda item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think we have given staff direction. Thank you very much. Any other council comments? I just wanted to, I know I saw Irene Jenny here earlier. We haven't got to the procedure yet for public comment, but I'm not sure if she's in the auxiliary room, but we are on Thursday. There is going to be a bowling with the vets, and she's been very instrumental in putting these activities together. So many of us are going up, and we're going to meet with our vets and have a lot of fun. So that's going to be on Thursday, and she'll have more of those if she comes for non-agenda comment. She can tell us more about it, but I wanted to make sure that announcement got out.
Mayor,
yes,
actually,
yes,
there's
Councilman
an announcement,
Knight.
and maybe it's a thank you because I see Eric Housley here, that I noticed the other day, either on the town website, that the town farmers market is back here, and so I wanted to thank Mr. Housley for having that back and for sponsoring that, and I look forward to attending that. So it's nice for a small community to have that, to have a market there, and thank you for bringing it back.
Okay, thank you. We have no proclamations and recognitions today, and now it's time for non-agenda public comments. So first I wanted to ask the town clerk and our acting town manager, she has two hats on today, did we have comment cards to speak from the auxiliary room, or what's the procedure?
If individuals are interested in making public comment that are in the auxiliary room, they are welcome to come and form a queue in the foyer here. We did not use public comment cards. We are happy to see everybody today, but did not expect this kind of turnout. But people are welcome to join us by waiting in the hallway.
Okay, thank you for that. So if you're in the locals lounge and you'd like to make your way to this building and stand in the hall, so I'm going to call for public comment that comments on anything that is not on today's agenda. So the item on, you want to come up and state your name, and well, we have a 5-minute limit, so we'll turn that on for you in a second.
Okay.
You got it?
Thank you for this opportunity to offer public
Can you
comment.
just state your name for the record, please?
My name is Jeffrey Lake. I live at 108 Champagne Drive in Bella Vista Park, Yountville, where I bought my manufactured home in 2021 to replace the 2-story, 3-bedroom home I lost in the wildfires of 2020. A number of our residents are here with us today to support our request that the town council direct staff to study the feasibility of implementing a senior mobile home park rent stabilization ordinance in Yountville. We are grateful that years ago the Yountville Town Council created a senior overlay for the 2 mobile home parks in town, Bella Vista and Rancho de Napa Estates. Existence of that senior overlay is an essential foundation for implementing a targeted rent stabilization ordinance for the 2 senior mobile home parks. The rent stabilization ordinance that we seek would not, and I emphasize, would not apply to any other tenant-occupied rental homes in Yountville. And as you probably know, rent stabilization is not the same concept as rent control. Ideally, a rent stabilization ordinance for the senior mobile home parks in Yountville would limit rent increases to 1 per year at a rate less than or not to exceed a standard index, typically the Consumer Price Index. Such a rent stabilization ordinance would provide mobile home park residents and mobile home park owners a predictable, reasonable, single annual rent increase. California Mobile Home Residency Law, the MRL, governs owners, residents, and most of the operations of mobile home parks in the state. However, the MRL only provides a due process structure and no cap on rent increases. In theory, under the MRL, without rent stabilization ordinance, setting reasonable limits on rate hikes, a park owner could raise rents by any dollar amount as often as every 30 days, that could be up to 4 times a year. We senior park owners need a reasonable protection that a rent stabilization ordinance could provide. We hope that a senior mobile home park rent stabilization ordinance in Yountville, if enacted by the town council, will 1, preserve unsubsidized affordable housing for more than 300 senior households so that we Yountville mobile homeowners can maintain our affordable housing without need for government subsidies from municipal, county, state, or federal sources whatsoever. 2, prevent the imposition of exploitive excessive and unreasonable mobile home space rent increases. 3, alleviate the unequal bargaining power which exists between the mobile home park residents and mobile home park owners. And 4, provide mobile home park owners with a guaranteed rate of annual space rent increase, which over time adequately adjusts mobile home space rents to account for the impact of inflation on park owners' rate of return. We thank you for your favorable consideration of our request. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Your Honor and council members. I'm Terry Bremer. My home has been 149 Gamay Circle in Bella Vista Mobile Home Park since 2018, when my late husband and I sold our house in Napa in order to downsize and live in a single-level residence in a nice park with a pool and clubhouse situated in the lovely walkable town of Yountville. Today, a rent stabilization ordinance for the senior mobile home parks in Yountville would give me and all my neighbors some peace of mind. Here's the backstory. A significant majority of us, and there's more than 300 affected homes, are older individuals or couples who live on fixed incomes. Among the other attractive features of life in Yountville, affordability was a primary motivating factor for us when we chose to purchase our manufactured homes that are attached to small spaces of land that we rent in Bella Vista Park or Rancho de Napa Estates. Ironically, our mobile homes, despite their name, are not so mobile. While we own the homes, they are attached to rented land. And in fact, it is difficult and expensive to relocate them, and to do so usually causes them damage. For these very practical reasons, we have to be committed to staying in our parks, and to do that, we need help to keep our space rent affordable. Like other homeowners in town, we've chosen and invested in the form of housing that we can afford, and we take pride in our homes and the spaces around them. Because we're senior citizens and many of us are retired or hopefully winding down our careers and going to be retiring soon, most of us do not have unlimited funds that enable us to meet what seem to be today's ever-increasing expenses of daily life. By way of example, in the past year in Bella Vista Park, all of us have experienced increased space rent, additional separate billing for water and sewer fees, which amounts previously were included in that space rent, along with other rising costs of living. I don't need to enumerate them. You have them. You know what they are. In fact, in Bella Vista this year, since residents have been required to pay increased space rent as well as separate water and sewer bills, homeowners are paying an average of $130 or more out of pocket each month. That's per household. We can't easily or voluntarily increase our Social Security benefits, our pension payments. We don't have the unlimited resources to keep up. We need a rent stabilization ordinance to provide a reasonable cap on annual space rent increases and no more than one rent increase per year. Without rent stabilization ordinance protection, we're vulnerable and unacceptably at risk to the whims of park owners present or future who may raise rents beyond market rate, forcing current homeowners to vacate or sell their homes, assuming that there might be buyers to purchase them. But what's going to happen to us as sellers? There's no other affordable, unsubsidized housing alternative available, or even among the subsidized housing alternatives. There's no other affordable place for us to go, and we ain't taking them trailers there because there's no place for them to go either. It's encouraging to know that we do have some similarly situated neighbors in other communities. These folks have peace of mind because they have rent stabilization ordinances. There's a newly adopted one in Petaluma. Windsor has had one, and it's been updated in 2023. Calistoga's Senior Mobile Home Park, RSO, was adopted in the mid-1990s. And we heard recently that Lake County is in the process of implementing a county-wide rent stabilization ordinance for their senior parks. So there's plenty of other places to look. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We sure would appreciate it, though, for all of these reasons, if you could ask town staff, direct them to study the need for rent stabilization for the senior mobile home parks here in Yountville and recommend a suitable ordinance that would maintain our affordable, unsubsidized senior housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Stewart. I'm a new resident.
Okay, can you face the front? We have to have you on camera.
I live at the Yountville Veterans Home, and I am very concerned about the people who cook my meals, clean my bathroom, and take care of me when I'm sick, that they drive an hour to an hour and a half to get here, many of them. I would like them to have someplace to live. I understand concerns around that, but I would like to see that partnership between the home increase with the town of Yountville, and I'm willing to work with you in any way to help that happen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would request that we do ask staff to bring back some information or some sort of report about the rent stabilization idea.
Yeah, I would support that too. So consider staff directed just to, give us a broad scope of what that topic would be about.
We will do so.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, too, I think maybe to consider our housing authority to provide us some information as well. So I look forward to a discussion about that in the future.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Robin Chambers. On April 30th, Kim Cook submitted an opinion piece to the Yountville Sun, excuse my voice, entitled Yountville Leadership Ignored Its Own Warning Signs and Now Faces the Fallout. Her commentary is grounded in factual information, well-considered viewpoints, and displays genuine concern for our community. To date, Kim has demonstrated impartial and succinct reporting on the subject of the Yountville Commons. Fortunately, the First Amendment and 14th Amendment safeguard our freedom of speech, ensuring that we can share our thoughts and opinions without fear of government retribution. It's deeply alarming that Councilmember McKee attempted to stifle the author's voice by chastising the Sun for the publication of this and future and important and relevant perspectives. Respectively, Kim concluded her article by expressing hope that all parties could move beyond entrenched positions and focus on a common objective. Unfortunately, the reaction by our councilwoman did not signal any willingness to reach consensus, but rather showed a preference for continued discord and continued lack of transparency, as well as a disregard for constituent interests. I asked the town council, how can we move forward together on this and other critical matters for our town if this is the approach the council is taking?
Anybody, Irene, would you like to come up?
I hope I get applause for this one. My name is Irene Aslanyan Jenny, and I'm here. Thank you, Mayor, for saying something about our Thursday event. We started this about 2.5 years ago because there was a lot of comments from the vets that we were just not that interested in them prior, just besides the voting time. So we started this. It was called Picnic with the Vet. And part of the fun was we would take a meal to the vets. We matched 20 vets with 20 locals. And the locals would take a picnic or a lunch, and we would have a really nice time. Halfway into the program, the assisted living group said, what about us? So we changed. So now every 2 months, we go to the assisted living, and every 2 months, we go to the more active ones. Unfortunately, this year, CalVet changed the plan and said we can no longer have homemade foods. While the vets really enjoyed the pigs in a blanket, the ambrosia salad, the deviled eggs, stuff they were not getting in their rooms, in their lunchroom, we had to stop that. But we have kind of pivoted. On Thursday, we are having picnic with the vet, or we're having bowling with the vet with pizza that we also get at Velo, so we try to keep it very local. And this year, the 20 locals that are bowling and serving pizza, et cetera, will bring in the cookies, the goods, the paper goods, et cetera, but Molly's Angel is sponsoring the pizza, which is very nice. So thank you very much for everybody. There are many in this group who come in with our lunches, for the lunches, and hope to see many of you on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to come up and address the council?
Hi, I'm Margene Marciniak. There's been a lot going on. Again, I come to the podium without a prepared speech. We all have our opinions, but Brad is gone. I don't know the whole story, but I'm wondering, is there any way to contact him either as a group or personally to thank him for what he did do for us? And if not, can we make that happen anyway?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Eric Housley from Ranch Market. I could speak for way more than 5 minutes, but I'm going to hold myself back. Yeah, let's start with let's be respectful. I completely agree. That starts with leaders. Calling people out should start with leaders all the time. Plenty of inappropriate comments on social media, including name calling and bashing of local businesses. This is unprofessional. This is not leadership. It's divisive. Secondarily, whether you were sold that this was a proper process in what we just went through, you were not given factual information. This process was a rogue effort that could have cost the town nearly $1 million per door, and if spent, we could have just had 100 doors at $1 million a door. Right? $100 million, $1 million a door. Why don't we just find 100 families, give them all $200,000 and walk away with they're all happy. Right? We're money ahead, but we came up with a process that nobody does, including leaders from the Napa City. Multiple leaders at Napa City said that your leadership was told, do not do this, do not fund this, and you went rogue anyway. And I say you, meaning leadership, wherever we got to here. Secondarily, a precedent has been set to fund, upgrade, and lease businesses at $1 a month, paying for the funds themselves from the council. Is that correct? From the town. In terms of Yountville Fit and the Coop, who pays for all of their stuff and the upgrades? The town funded it. And they're giving them $1 a year lease until the time that they actually show a profit. That sounds great. So if there's no local grocery store, if there's no other local we always hear about how everybody wants local business. They want local serving business. So are you guys going to start funding? These are precedents that you have now set. Mistakes have been made, many, on both sides, much of it in the communication. Together, we can have a vision to move forward with these mistakes. Together, we can make decisions that are the betterment of our whole community of Yountville. Together, we can rebuild Yountville through the current economic downturn. It's together that we can respect each other, and it starts with you. And let me finish with this. If you want to spend any money, buy an air conditioner for this room. It's hot.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Knight.
Mayor, I think we have to step back a little bit, and it's difficult. I appreciate comments from the public. I think there's, and it's difficult because I believe some of Mr. Housley's comments were not factual. And so, I mean, generalizations about spending of dollars as if things are a done deal, I'm sorry, is not an accurate review of the process. But I think, Eric, you've been around long enough. I remember years and years ago, George and Bud Delinsky talking about, wow, this town, what are we going to do with this town to provide local services to residents? And they even proposed that the town somehow sponsor, open up a burger joint, or I mean, there was this feeling that the town had to get involved in the community and promote some services that all the residents could use. And so I think we had a great opportunity with the Yountville Commons when the town purchased the Yountville Elementary School to provide services to the residents. I think those type of services that residents now have to be able to locally attend a fitness center and have a small farm stand and food center are benefits that the town can afford to provide to residents. And so will it last forever? Is it financially feasible forever? It may not be. I respect your opinion about what the town has done to date on the commons, but I understand residents for many years wanting to see the town get involved, provide services to the community that at times would take us being more actively involved. So good discussions. I look forward to talking more about it, but I think the town is always looking to provide needs for the community. Oh, I would just hear your comments about spending on the Yountville Commons project, and that the fact that the decision was already made to spend millions of dollars. I'm not sure why. I'm sorry. We're not. Maybe the town attorney is saying it's not an agendized item. So yes. We can bring this back to a workshop and talk about it. But I think what we want to talk about is the process, and that maybe we'll need to do that at another date.
Yeah, so. We have clarity. Just point of order, please. I'm not acknowledging the public right now. I'm going to town attorney. Can you make a comment, please?
I'm happy to chime in on this. So there's general public comment at every regular meeting, including this one. The council has set a 5-minute limit. When the members of the public speak, the council can also briefly respond. That's what the Brown Act provides. If the council wants to reopen public comment, they can do so. There's no obligation to do it, though. They do have a right to respond to your public comment, just as you have a right to provide public comment.
So next, who would like to come up and address the council?
All right. I think your comment on...
We need you to state your name for the record,
My name's
please.
Eric Appel. Councilman, your comment on providing services and having the town be able to afford to provide services to the residents only works if the town actually has money. And to your comments around the spending that multiple other residents have brought up today around the commons, I don't know how you can consistently say that our numbers are false and that we're making things up when those numbers are derived directly from the documents that this council produces on the archives, on the websites that we've all read. Not to mention, these are documents that this council spent millions of taxpayer dollars paying consultants and architects to generate. So you paid the BAE to do an economic analysis in the commons. You paid KNN to do an analysis on what type of bond you guys can actually afford or would actually be granted. And you also paid architects almost, I think the number is like $975,000 to draw up plans for what these commons are going to look like. So the idea that this was some sort of early stage abstract idea with random numbers floating around is just completely false. You guys were full steam ahead, ready to fund this whole thing. And the $100 million estimate is actually a lower bound. You already spent $11 million on the commons. By the way, only 30% of that money came from the Measure S funds. So if you want to paint everyone in this town as being somehow against workforce housing and politicizing this whole thing, you guys are the ones who politicized this whole project. You put a label on it calling it workforce housing. I was at the February 17th meeting when Michael Manillo and other business leaders asked what the plan was to work with local businesses to ensure that their employees would actually turn out to be the renters, and you said you had no plan. So just because you say that it's workforce housing, if you don't actually have a plan to make sure the workforce inhabits those units, it's not actually workforce housing, and you guys are just using it to sort of paint this us versus them problem that you're now claiming was us. Like, you guys are literally the ones who've created this problem that you say we all need to come together and get past. So I want to clear that up. And going back to my earlier math, you spent $11 million on the actual property. You committed $3 million to architects and consultants to basically come up with a plan that would eventually cost $91.5 million, from which, I repeat, I said this last time, you can get a bond for $16 million. So let's do some math. You have $5 million in cash plus $16 million in a bond gets you to $21 million to fund a project that's going to cost $91 million. I got that number directly from your consultant's economic analysis. So assuming that a public works project in California doesn't go over budget, which we all know that's literally impossible, the lower bound is going to be $91 million plus the 14 that has already been spent. And it would legitimately bankrupt this entire town, put us into at least $4 million of debt every year for 30 years. And that's where you get people signing a referendum to put a stop to it, because those services that we would love to, have the town afford and provide to all the residents in this town, there would be no money left for it. So anyway, I didn't actually intend to speak today, but I just feel like you guys just keep you guys are fear-mongering, you're gaslighting, you're telling us we have fake numbers when we are literally the ones that are reading your documents and your numbers that you're producing. We're not doing our own, we're not paying consultants. We're not just coming up with random numbers. Like, we're looking at the documents that you guys are producing. And so I think the last thing I'll say is about the actual location. People from the Veterans Home spoke. I think a 3-story, 150-plus unit apartment complex directly in the center of town is really the last place we should be looking to develop something that would be so out of character with the rest of this town. The Veterans Home is lacking workforce, and they have plenty of land up there that we should look at.
I'll just I'll address the Veterans Home, the second comment first. The Veterans Home belongs to the state of California. It is in our jurisdictional boundaries. And actually, it was very instrumental in us actually being able, because of the number of people up there versus on this side of Highway 29, to incorporate in 1965. So we thank them very much for that. I have been talking to CalVet for almost 2 decades about them building affordable housing up there, and we're still talking. But the town cannot include any of that land or build up there because it belongs to the state of California. So just to kind of clarify how that works. Second, we all together at the February 17th meeting heard the numbers. They were revealed to all of us at the same time. The town we cannot borrow $91 million. We cannot pay back $91 million. We never had the opportunity before, the conversation took a quick left turn, right turn, however we want to say it. The council never had a chance to really weigh in and agendize that. So I'm sorry that got, misled, but that was never, no one's going to loan us that money. No one's going into debt. And, even if the town goes into debt from borrowed money, we cannot raise your taxes. Only you can raise your taxes. So anyway, just brief comments. Anybody else like to come up and address the council with a comment? Yes, please come up, state your name.
My name is Myrna David. I live in Yountville. I know this has been a really tumultuous time for all of us, but what has been lost, in my opinion, in the conversation is the quality of life for residents in Yountville. No one has really been talking about that much. And up until all this tumult and all this negativity, I thought our life here in Yountville, the quality of our lives was phenomenal. And I want to explicitly say that over the last couple of years, I personally feel that's even ramped up further. We've got Yountville Fit now. We have barbecues with the firemen. We've got the North End doing all sorts of happenings up there. What was an incredible lifestyle before the last couple of years has even been improved even beyond that. So I don't want people, even when there's a lot of talk about numbers and a lot of controversy about one particular activity that is in the works in town, to forget that we have a lot of residents here who own their homes, but they're older adults. We're at the later times in our life, and we want to have a high degree of quality of life. So what I want to say is I actually want to thank all of you, because you have been instrumental, as have town councils before you, instrumental in setting the stage for this exceptional quality of life here. We have an outstanding staff who you direct, and I really want you to know that I appreciate you, I advocate for you, and when the time comes, I will vote for those of you who really continue to stand up for the quality of life for residents in our town. Thank you.
Anybody else? I see somebody approaching the podium.
Hi there, Jennifer Brewstar, 1278 State Lane. First of all, I want to thank everybody that does come up to the Veterans Home. I mean, you guys are an amazing presence there, and we had Robin out there this last weekend for our mixed nut softball game. I do want to address that the time has come. Being a 37-year resident here, I recognize that that property up there belongs to state. But I think that the state up there now has deemed it a medical facility. And so all the community heritage pieces, like the Lincoln Theater, like the pool, like the baseball field, like the golf course, like the museum, they no longer care for those buildings. And why can we not start? It will take a decade to do it, but why cannot we be like carving out those assets into something very similar like the San Francisco Presidio? Because they are at a 65% occupancy rate, and there are 100 people on long-term care waiting list waiting to get in there, 75 people in the memory care waiting to get into that list, 20 on the domiciliary. And it's not because they don't have the beds, it's because they don't have the staff. And what generations of Yountvilleans, Napavillians are going to step up to Calvet and Sacramento and start saying, it's time for us to help you. We have seen it work in San Francisco. We now need to start preserving these incredible things that are up there that all of us have. I mean, we are taxpayers. You know, $22 million went into that theater. That Armistice Chapel, that is a national historic landmark, built in 1914, is shredded and is barely standing up. So I get frustrated hearing that we can't make any moves with Calvet, Sacramento, because they are sanctuary, that they sit up on top of that hill. We have got to start making the moves and getting a steering committee that could start with a joint land use survey. You know, at least get the talk going of what it would look like, because they have said that they will not be manning the theater. So I think it's time to start having the conversation in which we can have an outside committee talk to their board, and how can we start moving forward with carving out some of these assets so that we can take $50 million off their budget to properly take care of veterans. So I just want to start that conversation because our generation needs to do it.
I just want to say that I think you know full well my involvement with the home, my involvement with Sacramento, the many trips that I've taken to Sacramento, the many conversations that I've had with the home administrator, the many discussions about workforce housing up there, the many discussions about the Lincoln Theater, and them canceling our lease on that swimming pool. So it is not without trying. I have attended just about every meeting that the CalVet board meeting has had. So it is not without those efforts. This is their property. They're very consistent in what they've been saying over many decades now. So if somebody wants to go up there and talk to Sacramento, that's fine. I spend a lot of time, and many council members and mayors before me have done the same. So just to make sure that everybody knows that there's a lot that always kind of goes on that we don't always discuss at council meetings, but I've been very, very involved for a long time, pushing for a lot of things. So, and I'm not going to give up, but that has been going on. So do we have any more public comment from anybody in the audience? Please come up.
My name is Gary Jabara. I really came here to not say much today, but I just wanted to remind everybody how we got here. I've kept a pretty low profile in this town for 4 years since I acquired the estate, and I've been a quasi-resident up here in the valley for, 50, 60 years with family and whatnot. And, for me, and for, I think, a vast majority of the people that are here, this is all about business. It hasn't been personal. I don't know all of you. I've met you several times and voted for, I think, probably all of you at some point. And I want to remind you all, and I wanted to come up here and say that this is about business. I'm a business guy. That's all I'm about. It's all I do every day. And when we all discovered that there was a $100 million freight train that was about to be approved, the residents said, wait, let's stop. Now, maybe the town council didn't read the reports. Maybe you didn't read the financials. Maybe Brad, who's kind of the elephant not in the room now, didn't share the details with you. But I would venture to say that if the referendum wasn't done, that this council would have approved what was in that complex document, and we'd be in a situation now that would be, I think, far worse than where we are. So nobody in this room, me especially, as the second largest employer behind the Veterans Home, doesn't want employee housing. Everybody wants employee housing. I know almost everybody on my property, all 400 plus of them, all their faces, all their names, who are always shaking hands and giving each other hugs every day. They are the hardest working and the nicest people you'll ever meet. And I'm sure Thomas Keller's groups are exactly the same. So when it's painted that we don't like employee housing, I take offense to it. I'm also 100% confident that whatever the next solution is, it will not nearly be as expensive as the freight train that was moving through this town. Partially because I know that you'll read everything now, and secondarily, everybody in this room and in the other room will read everything now. And so I'm anticipating that this town will do what it can afford. And I anticipate that whatever the solution is, it'll be super effective, and we will solve our affordable housing need in this town. And we'll do it in a financially responsible and a way that this town can afford. I don't envy Mr. McNabb, who's in the back corner there, our new interim town manager, stepping into what probably seems like a hornet's nest, but it's not. We're a bunch of nice people that work our asses off like everybody else does and wants a great quality of life. We just want to make sure that what's happening here is financially affordable and financially responsible and is Yountvillean, if I will. And lastly, I wasn't going to mention this, but there's somebody in this town that knows all of you. I got another binder of documents delivered to the hotel, this time filled with 1 or 2 of your personal emails, not town emails, that are being sent to somebody. Now, I'm keeping them to myself, but I can share with you that I do not appreciate the derogatory comments, and I do not appreciate what sounds a little retaliatory from your personal emails. So I would counsel you to be very, very careful who you craft your notes to, your texts to, about me personally. And remember that all I'm here to do is try and make this town better. I've invested millions across the street to try and make this town better. I've tried to beautify it. I'll continue to beautify it. We've got other submittals at the city waiting for approval. We've been waiting 2 years for the PG&E to approve an electrical panel so we can start construction on a restaurant. But this is about business. We all want housing. We just want to do it financially responsible. And don't go personal. We're all not here to personally attack you. We're here to make sure we do it right. So read the details. Okay?
So, Gary, can you explain briefly the Public Record Request Act and how that came from and who requested that and what emails are disclosable in the text?
Well, I can't speak to what I think is the second binder that Mr. Jabbar just referred to, although I would be happy to look at those records if Mr. Jabbar would allow me to do so. Anyone can make a request for records. The town gets requests all the time, not just from folks here, but from other places and the press. The clerk's office handles all of those. There's tight deadlines under state law. We respond within 10 days. You have to make a determination whether or not there are disclosable records. That can occasionally be pushed out an additional 14 days, and then you provide an estimated date when those records are available. Sometimes that's rather quick if you're only asking for a few documents. Sometimes it's quite a bit longer if you're asking for thousands and thousands, and in some cases hundreds of thousands of records. It takes a very long time for the clerk's office to go through all those. And then there are a series of exemptions. There are some records that the town can't disclose for a variety of reasons under the law. There are some that the town does not disclose for a variety of reasons under the law, and the town has to provide the basis for that non-disclosure in a response. So that's the process. When records are disclosed under the Public Records Act, they become public records. So in other words, the town can't disclose it to one person and then tell the next person it's private. So once it's disclosed, it becomes a public record in that form. And so occasionally we also get requests for the records that were already disclosed under other Public Records Act requests. And those records are already compiled and appropriately disclosable, and so are provided to people who make those requests.
And so do you, when they do that, do they want our private email disclosures?
Right. So on that point, so there was a case from 2018. It came out of the city of San Jose, and it was under the Public Records Act. There were council members that had city-related business, but on private phones and private accounts. The California Supreme Court found that those were still public records. You are public officials, staff are public officials. If you're conducting public business, even on a private account or your private phone, it's still a public record, and you can't shield it from the public simply because it's on a private account. And so when those requests come in, we always ask all the council members to disclose all of those private, well, so they're not private, but all those communications that are on private devices and private accounts. And then after they've disclosed everything, they sign an affidavit that states under penalty of perjury that they've done so. And that's the process that the California Supreme Court has blessed for retrieving these types of records off of your private accounts and private phones.
Okay, thank you very much. And just the other comment I want to make, and I'm sure the council will agree, is that we do spend quite a bit of time not only reading our agenda packets and reports, but also working with specific departments within the town staff, our town manager, our town attorney, asking lots of questions. So, and you know, I know this 91 million, 100 million, well, might as well round it up, keeps coming up a lot. We weren't ready in any way to, you know, make any imminent decision. We, as I said, we heard the number when you heard the number 2. And it's much like, I always like to use the example, you know, if I wanted to buy a $10 million house, but I could only afford a mortgage on a $1 million house, no one is going to loan me the money. So no one was going to loan us 91 million, 100 million. So, and it was never imminent to even go out and try that. So just, you know, just to kind of be clear. So who else would like to come up and make a comment?
Good afternoon, Thomas Keller. I live here in Yountville. I just kind of want to set the record straight because both all of you as well as the press has been saying that I'm against employee housing. Just so each one of you know and the press knows, we own 17 units that are employee housing, okay? We just bought 8 new units last year that we've renovated, more than half of them for employee housing. So we've been part of the employee housing program for over 30 years. So I just want to make sure that you understand that, and I am not against employee housing. As it relates to what you just said about you heard the information for the first time, we had meetings, the 3 of us, and each one of you told me that you were doing this project regardless of anything. You committed to doing this project. You said that to us in the boardroom that we were at, and Pam, you said that to us next door. So I just want to set the record straight on that as well. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I would like to respond to that. We had discussed the project in phases, and Thomas, during the meeting with you, that the last time you were here, you said didn't happen. So how we're supposed to believe you this time makes it a little challenging. So did it happen? Did we meet with you or not?
Can I come back in?
Please, did we meet with you or not?
When?
At your office, I believe
Yeah,
it was...
you met with me in my office, and that's when you told me that you were doing this project.
No.
Yes.
We were looking at phasing, and
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you've lied
Well, okay,
here once.
Then your word against my word.
It gives me no precedence that you're not lying again.
What do you mean I'm lying again?
Okay.
When did I lie to you? I'm sorry. You were accusing me of lying?
You said, 1, we have your phone number. I don't have your phone number. Thanks, I don't want it. You said, 2, that you asked us to meet with you.
Sorry?
You said that you asked us to meet with you,
Yes,
and we would not meet with you.
Okay.
You met with us.
Point of order.
You both met with us.
Point of order. Okay.
You're confused.
The 2 of you met with me
Point of order. We're not going
at the boardroom at EJC. You're telling me you did not meet with me?
I would suggest that you have this.
We didn't.
Come on,
No, I
take
did
this
not say you
discussion
didn't meet with me.
offline.
You met
please.
with me.
Take this discussion offline.
Robin, don't lie, okay? It's not
Not
appropriate there.
Robin.
God. Thank you.
Who else would like to come up and address the council? No. We're no second returns. Thanks very much. Who else who hasn't come up?
Hello, my name is Karen Thurling, and I've spoke before. My background is property management in Oakland and Berkeley, California, and I have been involved with this since I found out the amount of the money, the configuration of the apartments, so on, and the no parking. But then that wasn't against workforce housing. It was getting it right. And that's what I have heard from all these people, especially Mr. Keller, who has taken a lot of flack from, these authors of articles. They don't mention the 91, 100 million, whatever, until the very end of the article. Anyway, and Eric Housley and Gary Jabara, I call them the 3 wise men, because they've come to you and spoke to you, and yet we were still moving forward on this train. But now I hear from you, Mayor, is that you would have never done that in the first place, okay, from the February meeting. You just said it here, and I think I read it in the newspaper the other day. And I thought, well, why didn't you say that from the beginning? Because if you would have said it then, we got to start over. This is too much money. But that's not what happened, okay? So I wasn't at all these other meetings. But my own experience, this is the first time in that little bit, and I think it was in the last Yountville Sun from not this week, last week, that you said we would never, that would have been ludicrous, I think is what you said. But that is just recent. That's not back in February. It would have saved us all a lot of time if we would have said, you know what, we got to reconfigure this. But going to Pam's situation today, or Ms. Reeves, I don't know you enough to call you Pam, but, you know, we can sit and get plans and set up a date for meeting, but we can't discuss anything until you find what the employees need, which has been our fight all along. There was never anything taken to all the employees of the Veterans Home, employees of the restaurants, the market, everything. And that will decide the configurations and also how much they're going to cost. You know, the gentleman that was interested from Ranch Market about the little apartment that was going to be less than 300 square feet. I lived in an apartment less than 300 square feet for 39 years. But I also had a home, okay? But that, he would not be able to afford the apartment. It was going to be like $1,500 or more. You have to, you know, dot all the I's and cross the T's before we even sit down and discuss. And it's not us or them or whatever, it's all of us. But I don't hear all of us even today, okay? And Myrna, I like Yountville the way it is. I'd like to see it better, but I also don't want to be in the poorhouse over it, okay? And you have your numbers. Those aren't going to work. So that's what I have to say. And I have nothing against any of you personally, but my pocketbook, I don't own hotels or markets or restaurants, but my pocketbook means a lot to me too. And I do want to help people. That is the reason why we're all here. But I'm not going to be, you know, bankrupt over it. Thank you.
Jessie Bugden. I'm not going to say too much today. I just want to respond to a few things that have been said. You're right. We can't get a $90 million loan. So why would we spend millions on architects and consultants mocking up a project with that price tag? Why wouldn't you start with the budget? As you said, you can't afford a $10 million home. So if you can't afford a $10 million home, you don't spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on architects and land to draw up a $10 million home and then say, oops, can't afford it, now what? So that's my thought on that. I don't really believe that this was just going to stop. I don't know who was driving this, like everyone said. Was it the town manager who knew all of this and was pushing this, or was it everybody? But anyways, that's my comment on the price tag.
Anybody else like to come up and address the council?
Mayor, I have my hand up. And
we have, hold on, a member, Councilmember Tripp. We've got a little more public coming up, and then we'll go to you.
Well, I thought Gary said we could respond to a comment. If not, I'll wait. But I did want to respond to a comment.
The comment that was just made?
Yes, the comment that was just made.
Yes, go ahead.
I think that is a relevant question as to why we designed with very professional architects and continued to invest, not knowing what the particular design would cost. And I did, over the summer, ask management if we should not get some construction costs as we began to plan. And I was told it was irresponsible to get any construction estimates. And my question at that point was, is there not an entire industry that estimates construction costs based on what we had at the time, which, depending on who you talk to, it was either a conceptual design or when I looked at what was actually going on, it was a more detailed design. So certainly we could have estimated some of the costs before February 17th. I was told, and the exact word was, it would be irresponsible to have those costs. So we did what some people call is price discovery by getting actual bids and having contractors spend probably $5,000 to $10,000 each preparing those bids, and that became our pricing structure. So it is true we did not know till whatever the date of that meeting was, the cost, the $91 million. But I think it begs the question as to why did we not know? And why did we continue to go down this road, investing with no sense of the cost of this and no particular sense of what we could borrow? So I just want to respond to that. I think that is a very legitimate question. And I'm not here to criticize the past. I actually would really like to move on and work together, because I agree very much some really excellent things have happened over at the Commons as a result of what the previous town manager accomplished, and there's much good here. So I like to move on, but I do feel I need to be clear on the record that that is actually what happened. Several people have mentioned we didn't have costs, and I never did understand that, and I think that that was a failing. So that's my response to those comments about the cost.
Yes, you have the floor.
Excuse me. Thank you. Alan Tencher. I wanted to bring up something that has been troubling me, and that is the builder's remedy. And if we are not able as a group, and I'm very encouraged to hear people wanting to work together, people wanting, Marjorie, I will face forward no matter how hard it is for me.
I know. TV land will appreciate it, Alan. Thank you.
Yes. Anyway, I just think it's important that we keep an eye on the prize, because whether it be Woodside, Beverly Hills, St. Helena, if towns lose control of their planning process, and we are, I think, very at risk of that if we do not have a compliant housing element. And I think the time is running out. I'm thinking months, not years, to get into compliance. So I just encourage you. I welcome the discussion about the RHNA numbers, but I think we also need to realize that we may have to make some interim choices that aren't that comfortable to keep the builder's remedy at bay. We already saw with Oak and Vine the challenge, how little control we actually had. We had to beg them not to put the gate out front so that it would be more welcoming. So anyway, the builder's remedy. The other thing I wanted to address today is I think this forum is an incredible forum to get things done. I'm so pleased to not be the only one sitting in the audience. And you guys, all of you, you and very occasionally me, have good ideas. And if we sequester that into different groups, I don't think we get the benefit of all the information. So in the past, I have been supportive of the idea of a neutral facilitator. I think democracy, sometimes you have to roll up your sleeves and you have to be willing to say, what the heck, I'm going to speak my mind. But I think this forum, even if you had to meet every week, if you had to meet in Schmidt Hall, I would advocate for that. I also think that it may be necessary from a time point of view, because I think we've got a lot of energy right now. I think we've got a lot of ideas. I think we know what the issues are. And I don't want to lose that because I don't want to see the builder's remedy come to Yountville.
Okay, thank you very much. And Town Attorney, you have a comment, and maybe you could tell us all about the builder's remedy.
Well, I might save that for the future agenda item.
Okay, that's fine. We don't want to, spoiler alert. Okay, so come to the next one.
Longer discussion for this meeting, but just to briefly respond, the town does have a compliant housing element, so that was certified by HCD, and you do have a compliant housing element. However, if the units required by RHNA are not actually built, it can trigger the builder's remedy under certain circumstances, and I think that's what the public commenter was alluding to. But I wanted to clarify, the housing element is currently compliant.
All right, thank you very much for that piece of information. Yes, please come up and give us your name.
My name is Stephen Becker.
And I come from an academic, medical, drug development, and Gates Foundation healthcare philanthropy background. So I probably don't know what I'm talking about here, but in each of those other
I'm a pharmaceutical scientist, and I kind of know too. So please,
I am well aware
I
of
appreciate you coming.
In those circumstances such as we have heard here, and I've been to 3 or 4 of these meetings now, it would be handled by an audit. It would be handled by a due diligence process. It would be handled by an objective outside entity to get at the facts and at the truths. Otherwise, you will continue this cycle of he said, she said. I don't know what the procedure is. I don't know if there is a procedure. Maybe the town attorney can speak to that, or you as council members can. But you are desperately, direly in need of an objective observer to unpack these issues. Short of that, I fear for Myrna and her desire for a nice Yountville, it isn't going to be there. There is a great deal of distrust, and I think you've lost the confidence of many people. And I think if you are interested in preserving that and you feel you have legs to stand upon for the decisions you have made, you would agree for an independent, external due diligence and audit process. And I'd like to hear from you what the guidelines around that are and what your willingness to engage in such a process would be.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Knight.
I really appreciate your comments, because I think that's important, because what I hear today is, and it's just a challenging conversation. Everyone here is passionate about our community. They love our community. And everyone has a right to their opinion. The question is, we don't seem to be able to agree on the facts about really what the planning process is, what staff reports mean, and whether a staff report presented to the community and to the council at the same time represents actions decided. We don't have any basic agreement on the facts, and so it'd be interesting to see. I support some type of conversation, how we maybe talk about the process to date and explain for everyone to be able to speak again, but to understand what occurred up to the February meeting and the March meetings, and to get some common understanding of the process that we can all come to an agreement on, and I think the community would benefit that. So I don't have a solution for that, other than I think it's going to take some type of common understanding and facilitation to challenge everyone to kind of step back and have a conversation. So,
I agree. I think that until we really get all this really out, and we might not all agree at the end, but at least if there's some common threads of what happened, what didn't happen, I think we won't be able to really design a path forward. So I think I'd like to continue talking about that as well. So anyway, back to public comment. I want to make sure anybody else have any public comment. We do still have some agenda items to get through, but you're more than welcome to come up and address council. Yes.
Hi, I'm Cindy Gates. Live here in Yountville, work here in Yountville, been a real estate broker here since 1995. There's several levels that I'm concerned about in preserving the quality of our home here in Yountville. The parking situation with this whole thing is a problem. to begin with, and to think that people are going to be comfortable in a 300 square foot home. I think, and I understand you lived in one for a long time, but I have never sold anything that small, okay, in the 47 years I've been in the business. So I just want to protect our community. You know, it's been a real project for me through the years, doing what I've done, helping everybody with their homes and their construction, everything, planning. I see major issues here, and I think it's great we can all talk about them and try and work them out, because they're going to ruin our town. Going like it is, without the parking, how are we going to accommodate these people with this income structure that are going to live here? And how are we going to control who rents? Is it going to become a homeless thing? Is it? But I mean, there's a lot of things I've seen happen in communities, and the path this is going down has to be carefully planned. The financial aspects of it, the whole level of construction that's going on, the layouts, the plans, and the square footages of the units. Number one thing that I see with the way it is, it's going to drive the prices and our equities down here in this community. Huge. And it's not what we've enforced and protected through the years and worked hard to create. We need to work a lot harder here, I think. And I understand the needs for the restaurants and for the hotels employees and whatnot for accommodations. But Yountville's so darn small. Why are we trying to create the accommodations here? Maybe it shouldn't even be here. We're not big enough. We don't have the parking. I mean, the amount I pay for 2 parking places, or the right to park 2 of the cars at one of my rentals, is nuts a year, and it goes up every year. These people aren't going to have any parking at all. Where are they going to park? That's a concern. Anyway, I've got a whole list of stuff, so I won't bore you anymore, but I think this is going to have a huge impact on our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to come up and address the council?
Not me. I'm just leaving.
Okay. Not seeing anybody coming up, I am going to close public comment and bring it back to the council. We have the consent calendar. We have 9 items on our consent calendar. So what I'm going to do is first ask for a motion and a second, and then I'm going to go to public comment, and then we'll bring it back to council and see if there's, well, first I guess I will let the room clear out.
Nobody says they don't care.
We don't. We know you care. I'm sorry.
Okay, so can we get a motion and a second to approve today's consent calendar?
I move to approve.
Well, second.
Okay, do we have any public comment on today's consent calendar? Nope. I'll bring it back to council. Anybody want to talk about any specific items before I call for the vote?
I would, Mayor, please.
Yes.
I guess to start with item 8I for our Director Celia. No, wait, I'm going backwards, aren't I? 8I, let's start with Public Works for Director Ferns and Deputy Director Ramirez. I was excited to see a mention of the space in town by California Drive at 29 listed on that possible application for the MTC funding. We had talked about that during the budget meeting workshop, and I know that because that area of the town had not been a focus for street improvements. I was happy to see it show up, and I wanted to find out, is that dedicated funds, is that MTC, or are those $125,000 funds, is that from the Oak and Vine?
No, that was a coincidence. So we did receive a previous quote from a consultant of about $75,000 to start the process of reviewing the area. So that full project cost, I estimated about $150. That includes that quote and then the anticipation of plan specs for actual construction. So the requests to TDA, which are MCT funds, were $125,000 of their funds with the $25,000 match. So that's where that $125 came from. It's completely separate from the other funds for Yountville Crossroads.
And so that's an application that we'll wait to see if they...
We've submitted, unfortunately, early reviews of the application look like they might not fall for this round. So we will seek to see where else we can possibly fit those safety improvements.
Well, thank you for including it. I appreciate it. And then my other question was actually for the finance. We don't normally pull the monthly financial reports.
Which item is you referring to?
Numbers or letter, I should say C.
Okay, thank you.
But as we are reviewing those and receiving and filing, I think it's important for the town to hear again, since there has been questions regarding our reserves. So, Director King, I would appreciate if you would provide the public with some comfort with regards to our reserves. Thank you.
Of course. So as of April, the general fund reserve has a balance of $5.7 million, and that represents 41% of the estimated general fund expenditures for the current fiscal year. You may recall that we spoke about the reserves at both of the budget workshops in April. It will also be a highlight at the upcoming agenda item on May 19th, where staff will present the proposed biennial budget for the next 2 fiscal years to Town Council for adoption. The general fund reserve is exceeding the policy minimum of 35% of general fund expenditures and will continue to do so in the upcoming 2 fiscal years.
Thank you for that review. I'm sorry not everybody got to hear it. And also thank you for assuring council today that the property tax fraud that's going on throughout the county will not affect our revenues. For those of you that hadn't heard, between the post office here and the post office in Oakland, where our mail goes, checks have been stolen. So the county is doing away, of course, with the green envelopes because they were like a red flag saying, take me, take me. The county is dealing with a big deficit because of the number of checks throughout that were stolen. And now even the property that I manage for my day job is having to pay their taxes again and their fees again, the fees for being late. And supposedly the county has a process for refunding fees, but it just something for us all to be aware of, that when our property tax payments are not going to where they're supposed to, it could affect our bottom line. So thank you for assuring us.
Of course.
Any other questions about consent items from the council? Nope. Okay. Then we have a motion and a second. There's no public comment. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That passes unanimously. We have no presentations, no public hearings, and one administrative item. So who is going to, Hillary, are you going to handle this one, or should I turn it over to Gary?
We have.
Oh, there we go.
Our
All right.
Human Resource
Thank you.
Analyst, Ashley Ray.
All right, thanks.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. The recommendation before you today is to adopt Resolution Number 26-4411, approving the employment agreement and appointing Ken McNabb as interim town manager. This agreement provides for Mr. McNabb to serve as the interim town manager role beginning May 5th, 2026, through the successful recruitment of a permanent town manager or no later than September 30th, 2026. The hourly rate of pay is $137.71, which is calculated in accordance with government code requirements for retired annuitants. Mr. McNabb is a CalPERS retired annuitant and as such is limited to a maximum of 960 hours worked per fiscal year. Consistent with those requirements, the agreement does not include benefits, leave accruals, holidays, vacation pay, or any additional compensation beyond the hourly rate. This agreement allows the town to maintain continuity and leadership while recruitment for a permanent town manager is underway. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. So the council did meet in closed session earlier, and we had the opportunity to discuss Mr. McNabb as our interim town manager. He has helped out the town many times before. He's also been a city manager, and he has stepped in on interim situations for us, especially in the planning and building department as well. So, so this is going to, before we, does the council have any questions at this time?
Questions?
No. Okay. So first, I'll go to, is there any public comment on this item before I bring it back for any council discussion? Seeing none, I will bring it back for council discussion. So before us, we have an item that would suggest that we also have a public comment that we've also all read. That's in our packet. We have a resolution that would approve our Mr. McNabb for through September the 30th to serve as our interim town manager. Any discussion from the council?
I do have just one comment. Mr. McNabb is still in the room after that discussion, and that sort of bodes well for his stamina. And I have to say that along with his other qualifications and his experience in town, that does make a huge recommendation for him.
Yes, and I'm certainly sure he learned a lot today, and he's not even on the time clock yet. So there you have it. So he has my full support. He's really been, there for us when we've had, opportunities for help, and he's kind of stepped in. He's very well thought of throughout the Napa Valley, even though he lives over in the other valley. And a very experienced, well thought of. So I would certainly support this resolution. Councilmember Tripp.
I wanted to indicate I also support the resolution. I had a chance to work briefly with Mr. McNabb when I was on ZDRB, and he certainly has a really thorough knowledge of city operations and certainly planning, which I think in the current issues we're facing could be a very helpful thing. So there were other choices, I'm sure, and other directions we could go, but given all the circumstances and the fact that he was willing to step up and do this and put some of his other consulting aside, I'm supportive of it at this time. I think we have a lot of other issues to talk about, how we will select a permanent town manager, how long we anticipate Mr. McNabb to be in place, given we have an election cycle coming up. So there's a lot of unresolved issues, but I think for today's issue, this is a really good outcome. And I hope to work well with Mr. McNabb. I'm sure I will, and I look forward to working with him. So I thank him for his willingness to step up. And I agree with what Councilmember Reeves said, that hopefully he will continue to agree to do that after he's heard some of the issues we have going on in our town.
Okay, so with that, would somebody like to make a motion and a second on the resolution before us?
I move that we adopt resolution number 264411, appointing and approving an employment agreement with Mr. Ken McNabb as our interim town manager.
I'll second that.
And with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That passes unanimously. And Mr. McNabb, since you are still here, would you mind? I think you're the only one in the room who hasn't come up to the microphone. So I'm going, and I won't even limit you to 5 minutes if you'd like to talk longer. So please just introduce yourself to the public and our TV land.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to say after that meeting I'm speechless, but I am still excited very much to help the town and the council through this transition. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in local government for over 25 years, most of that service in Napa and Sonoma counties, in the planning department and also as a city manager. So it's always a potentially stressful time for all parties, not knowing who your future manager is going to be, but you will go through a recruitment. You will get good candidates. Yountville is a beautiful and special community, and I know you will have, some of the best to choose from when you get to that point. And I take the responsibility seriously. I know your department heads, they're all exceptional and quite capable, which will help make, my role as the interim a little bit easier, and I look forward to working with the team and with each of you as council members to get through to your next manager. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for helping us out during this transition time. So we have no staff presentation or informational reports. Any council external meeting reports? We'll hold them until next time. And
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I did raise my hand. I just wanted, could I make an external report, or is this the time? Okay, so I did attend as Yountville's representative of the Upper Valley Waste Management Agency in April, and the first Monday in April. There were actually two issues involving Yountville specifically. One is Yountville applied for I guess the word would be a grant from Upper Valley Waste Management Agency, which provides all the garbage service to the 3 cities in Upper Valley, as well as the unincorporated area of Napa. And the grant, it comes out of franchise fees that were set aside for the purpose of providing waste-related projects to the cities and the county that participate. And our project that was funded is going to be for some enhanced waste receptacles, I guess is the best word, so that we can separate out better different types of waste. And also we've had some issues with the receptacles that we have. So that was very positive that the board approved that. And the other item involving Yountville is a pilot project and I believe it was a federal grant, although it could have been a state grant, basically to provide the customers in Yountville with a special waste receptacle for what they call film plastics, which basically is things like the plastic that you can't put in recycling, but people do put in recycling, certain types of containers, certain plastics, and instead people erroneously putting them into recycling, we will now get the opportunity to have a special container to put them in. And that will help with the recycling efforts because we won't have inappropriate stuff in the recycling. But they are still looking at trying to find a eventual home for that material. But the Upper Valley Waste Management Company is fairly optimistic that they might be able to actually find somebody who can recycle it. But it's not known right now whether it can be recycled. So those two items involve Yountville. And then we also heard what I thought was a very good presentation that the agency's board had asked for on the safety issues up at the operations at Clover landfill. And it was a very good presentation. And I left feeling that they are paying, the company Waste Connections is paying pretty good attention and diligence to safety, which I think we should all feel is a good thing. So it was a very productive meeting, and I especially wanted to report out on the issues involving Yountville. So thank you.
And I just wanted to add, because I worked with Christy Pistone on this, it's an experimental program, and they've chosen Yountville, and I agreed that it would be great if we were chosen. It's a program started by Cal Recycle. That's the state program, and eventually we're hoping is a lot of the plastics that we all deal with every day in our waste streams, that the manufacturers will be responsible for all of those recycling. And so this film plastics is an experimental program where that Cal Recycle is going to be spearheading, so that we can really figure out how to best deal with these types of materials. So it's going to be just a short time in Yountville. You'll be getting bags. You'll be getting rolled out more information. This isn't permanent. Your neighbors up Valley and in Napa won't even know about it, because I don't think they're participating in it. City of Napa might have some participation, I'm not sure, but because we're a very compliant community, very small community, they asked us if we would raise our hand to volunteer to be involved with it. So that's what's coming, and you'll be getting more information soon. So with that, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn to our regular meeting 3 o'clock on May the 19th.
Move adjournment to May the 19th at 3 p.m.
Before you adjourn, I'd like to just say...
Oh, excuse me, we don't really have public comment right now, so I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry, we don't have public comment. It's no, I am sorry. We don't have public comment, excuse me.
Madam Mayor, excuse me.
No, we do.
We were supposed to have a rent stabilization the 19th and the 26th. It was moved up to today. That's fine. But we talked a little bit about rent stabilization for the mobile home companies, but then it all went to the commons and that. And that just wasn't really pertinent.
If you want to stay after the meeting, I'll talk to you. So thank you very much. So can we, all in favor of...
Wait, let's just say...
Should I answer?
Yeah.
Yes, we talked about that.
I'm happy to add some information to that. Ms. Bremer and Mr. Lake presented public comment today in relation to asking council to bring back an action related to the rent stabilization ordinance, and they did make their comments, and I'm happy to meet with you after the meeting to follow up on that. And if you'd like to submit a public comment electronically, that can be included with the record.
And I admire those two people for doing that. I just want to make sure to get the conversation back to the rent stabilization, because that's important to a lot of people.
That will be brought forward on a future agenda.
Yeah, we already did. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And that's a wrap for today. Bye.
Thank you.
Good to have you back on board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's an action on a future.